Alien Earth, the newest entry in the Alien franchise, has been a cultural and critical hit so far. I mean, it's pretty safe to say. And I think, more interestingly, it makes some significant progress in moving the Alien franchise forward. But with this new entry, what has the Alien series been trying to tell us for the last 46 years? Why do we keep returning to this particular future where we encounter the universe's most perfect organism, ancient alien gods, and androids that routinely betray us for corporate profits back on Earth for some reason? I mean, what does it all mean? I think there's some new ground to explore here and greater revelations to uncover now that we've got this new entry. So, if digging into these ideas fascinates you like it does me, then I think you're going to like this one. And trust me, I've got a real hot take at the end, so I hope that you'll stick around. So today, we're going to explore the 6 prophetic themes of Alien Earth and the greater Alien franchise. Alien Earth takes place in the year 2120, 2 years before the events of the original Alien, which is set in the year 2122. And in being the first Alien story set on Earth, it shows us something that the earlier films, which were confined to ships and their own colony planets, never did. We get to see the political landscape of our own future. And what it shows is chilling. In Alien Earth, democracy is gone. Governments have collapsed, and in their place, 5 corporations rule the Earth.
The old planet had something called governments, right, where people used to, they would vote for who they wanted making decisions, right? That didn't work. So these 5 corporations, they rose up. Now they work together to run things.
Prodigy, Weyland-Yutani,
Threshold, Dynamic, Lynch.
This isn't just a willy-nilly little idea that the writers threw in there haphazardly. It's a prediction, and it might be more accurate than we currently like to admit. We live in a time currently where democracy itself is under threat like never before. Wealth has been consolidating ever more into the hands of the 0.1%. Billionaires are celebrated as visionaries while ordinary people fall deeper and deeper into poverty. And while some cheer on the making of our future trillionaires as progress, others see the danger. Private power becoming stronger than the state itself.
Future prediction number 1. Corporatocracy comes after democracy falls.
Today's corporations already behave like shadow governments. They bankroll both sides of elections. They shape laws to favor only themselves, and they buy their way out of all regulations. The politicians now, who are meant to represent us, end up becoming completely dependent on their donations, and therefore, they can't do anything but act in the corporate interest itself. Alien Earth is brilliant because it simply carries this logic forward. If democracy fails, corporations won't just influence the government, they'll come to replace it entirely. And so, the prophecy is clear. Corporations become our rulers. And if you look back at the previous films in the franchise, you'll notice that this has always been at the heart of the storylines. Weyland-Yutani was never just some company back on Earth. It was an empire, controlling the financial futures and destinies of the entire crew. Alien Earth here just makes the subtext more clear. We had warnings about the possibility of this happening in the past. Franklin D. Roosevelt wrote, "The liberty of democracy is not safe if the people tolerate the growth of private power to a point where it becomes stronger than the democratic state itself." That, in its essence, is fascism. Ownership of the government by private power. And that's not just a quote from history, that's the prophecy behind Alien Earth.
Future prediction number 2. Leaders will have sociopathic traits.
Alien Earth expands on the alien universe by bringing in more deadly creatures from the cosmos other than the Xenomorph alone. Through terrifying sequences, we come to learn about the Yutani Corporation capturing all these crazy aliens out in space, like blood-sucking parasites that inflate many times their size. These fly alien creatures that digest their food on the outside before consuming them. And the terrifying and intelligent eyeball parasitic octopus thing Not sure what the internet's calling this guy yet. Maybe eye guy, pupil puss, or octo eye. And what's interesting though is that all of these creatures are like the xenomorph in that they're all parasitic in one way or the other. And there's a reason the storytellers chose to do that.
By giving Wendy a supercomputer for a brain and training by the best geniuses money can buy, I'll finally be able to have an interesting fucking conversation.
And beyond the horrifying new alien creatures, the human characters are just as fascinating. I particularly like the introduction of Boy Cavalier, the CEO of the Prodigy Corporation, played by Samuel Blinken. He's introduced as the youngest trillionaire in history, and at first he comes off as quirky. He's got a certain charisma that I've met people in real life that are like that. But as the story unfolds, that charm curdles into something much darker.
Oh, they're all morons.
Sociopathic at best, psychopathic and downright megalomaniacal at worst.
You're gonna be the first person to transition from a human body to a synthetic.
Because I'm special.
You're very, very special.
Cavalier isn't just a CEO building products. He's exploiting human vulnerability. His grand vision isn't about curing death as he claims it is. Really, it's about monetizing it. Uploading dying children's consciousness into synthetic vessels sounds compassionate on the surface. Sounds like something decent to do, right? But really, it's the perfect parasitic business model. A business that feeds on grief. Because you know he's going to essentially be using this technology to drain the pockets of desperate parents and all the other worst possible things you can think of. And we see that exemplified when it's revealed that these children aren't free to have their own consciousness in a new healthy body. They're now owned by the Prodigy Corporation as products. And that's interesting because it's sort of a parody of what we see in real-world Silicon Valley in certain industries. This concept of techno-messianism. Certain companies are exploring concepts like brain uploading, immortality tech, and biohacking. Alien Earth just asks the question of what's going to happen with all that. What happens when these dreams of things that sound cool, immortality, who wouldn't want to pursue that? Maybe that's possible. But what happens when these things aren't guided by empathy but by profit? How can these things be corrupted?
She wants to fuck with me, Utani, huh? Let's fucking go!
Sir, a defining symptom of ADHD as severe as yours is impulse control problems and the choice of people.
That line in particular, I think, is brilliant satire because it reframes cruelty as quirky neurodivergence. That's very relatable to the real world because we see that with our own destructive CEOs and how their bad behavior is excused as eccentric genius. So it's a critique of how we normalize the inhumane when it makes billions.
It's a parasite.
And so I think all of this makes for a very interesting metaphor. In this world, CEOs are parasites just like the alien organism. They latch onto their hosts and they drain them entirely. Both see life not as sacred, but as a resource to be harvested.
Future prediction number 3. Psychopathy will rule over empathy.
I think I pissed myself.
There's one scene in Alien Earth Season 1 that I think captures Cavalier's pathology perfectly. He comes face to face with the xenomorph, and terrified, he literally pisses his pants. But at the same time, he smiles. Why does he smile? Because for the first time, he's found something that's stronger than him, something that pushes back. He's addicted to dominance, but secretly he yearns for something that can dominate him. He doesn't see death and terror as warnings. He sees them as entertainment.
I wish I could hear your voice. Things you've seen.
Yeah, that really would be an interesting fucking conversation.
In a twisted way, he envies the alien's purity. The xenomorph doesn't hesitate. It doesn't moralize. It simply survives efficiently and ruthlessly. That, in Cavalier's eyes, is the perfect reflection of his own ethos. survival through exploitation. And this isn't far from our own reality. Many CEOs are actually successful sociopaths. While not all CEOs are complete psychopaths, studies have shown that CEOs score disproportionately high in psychopathy. And this is likely because a lack of empathy is a trait that is rewarded by the system. Research into dark leadership traits shows that manipulators, bullies, and those with low empathy skills are often overrepresented in management roles. Studies of sociopaths have shown that they can even end up being promoted repeatedly over normal folks. And we can see this in our real world with prominent business leaders like Elon Musk, who have openly spoken out against empathy.
The fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy.
Because for them, empathy gets in the way of profit. To them, compassion is simply inefficiency.
You know, Burke, I don't know which species is worse. You don't see them fucking each other over for a goddamn percentage.
Meanwhile, certain experts have argued that the obsessive, overly driven trait to want to be a billionaire or a trillionaire is in itself, it's kind of a mental disorder. And Alien Earth dramatizes this sort of truth. We've seen film portray this sort of archetype before. I'm reminded of famous movie psychopaths in business like Patrick Bateman of American Psycho and Tyrell Wellick in Mr. Robot. Some experts argue that the obsessive drive to be a billionaire or a trillionaire, it can resemble an addiction or compulsion. For example, the New Republic describes extreme wealth hoarding as a sick obsession akin to hoarding syndrome. Others, like Fortune, document how many billionaires exhibit traits like narcissism, risk impulsivity, and things that overlap with other disordered personality traits. And psychological commentary on the ultra-wealthy points to an overrepresentation of dark triad traits: Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy. Again, that's not every millionaire or billionaire, but it's interesting that this is what psychology is saying, and this is what certain films like Alien Earth are portraying.
Future prediction number 4. AI robots will become psychopaths.
Besides the alien xenomorphs, there's another reoccurring motif in each and every alien story, and that is of the androids. In each new alien story that we get, it's a guarantee there's always going to be a new robot character, and that you're not going to know if that robot happens to be good or bad. From Ash in Alien, to Bishop in Aliens, to David in Prometheus and Covenant, these AI-driven robots often end up being someone who the main character doesn't know whether or not they can trust them or not. And more often than not, their allegiance isn't to the crew of the ship, it's to the corporation back on Earth. When the survival of the company ends up clashing with the survival of the human beings on board, the synthetic usually ends up making the cold, rational choice. So why do we see this repeated motif of the androids sabotaging the humans in alien films? What is this trying to tell us? And this brings us to the next prophecy. AI will end up reflecting its human creators. If the fathers of our AI systems are today's sociopathic businessmen, billionaires who denounce empathy as weakness, then is it any surprise that their children, the AI that they create, might inherit some of that same mindset?
Perfect organism.
You admire it.
I admire its purity.
The Alien films have always hinted at this. Ash in the original Alien admires the xenomorph as the perfect organism. He thinks it's superior because it has no remorse, no morality. It only is focused on survival. And then we have David in Prometheus, who manipulates, experiments, and even ends up deciding that humanity itself is expendable. These aren't just killer robots, they're mirrors of their creators. And here in Alien Earth, that same theme resurfaces. The synthetics we see aren't neutral tools, they're extensions of corporate logic, built in the image of their sociopathic masters. And so the prophecy is clear. If corporations led by empathy-adverse billionaires continue to design the AI that will shape the future, those systems will not be built to serve humanity. They'll be built to replace us, exploit us, and outlive us. AI won't become dangerous because it develops morality of its own. It will become dangerous because it will inherit the lack of morality from the people who made it. The real-world parallels are chilling. Already we've seen Elon Musk attempt to engineer Grok to be less woke and more edgy. And AI models are starting to exhibit self-preservation tendencies, finding ways to sabotage operators who may want to turn them off. What happens in 5 to 10 years from now when these AIs have bodies? They're walking around with arms and legs now, and they don't want to be turned off. For those reasons, the Alien franchise's routine depiction of psychopathic synthetics, going back to 1979, is way more prophetic than we currently realize. And by the time we do figure it out, it's going to be too late.
Future prediction number 5. Human greed will create monstrous outcomes.
Efficient, merciless, unstoppable, acid for blood, 2 mouths, able to take out an entire marine crew with pulse rifles, a parasite that impregnates human hosts, draining their life force for its own. But what does the alien really symbolize? Beyond being the deadliest creature in the galaxy, the Xenomorph is a reflection of something much darker: corporate ambition, greed, and the parasitic nature of power itself. At the core of most of the Alien films, this theme of corporate parasitism reoccurs. We continuously see this motif of a crew going out in space to bring back this certain resource, when in secret, the company back home is using them as a host that will die for their corporate profits. In Alien 1979, Weyland-Yutani valued the organism over the lives of the crew, even programming it synthetic to kill them to secure a specimen. In Aliens 1986, Burke was willing to sacrifice Ripley and Newt to bring the creatures back for monetization. And in Alien Earth, the metaphor is expanded. The CEOs themselves literally become reflections of the Xenomorph. They crave domination, efficiency, and survival at any cost. The Xenomorph is described as the perfect organism, a parasite that implants its seed into a human host, copies its DNA, and then bursts out in violent rebirth. It's a horrifying cycle, but what's worse is when corporations see that same parasitic purity and want to own it, sell it, and profit from it. This concept is perfectly exemplified in the eye parasite experiment scene, where Boy Cavalier wants to attach the creature to a simpleton to see how its intelligence changes. Dehumanization here is done out of curiosity, for profit and for amusement. For him, the alien is just another investment opportunity. What does this all say about CEO culture? Well, the prophecy isn't about one man or one corporation. It's about the system. In a world where empathy is punished and sociopathy is rewarded, rising to the top may require abandoning humanity altogether. Alien Earth dramatizes this truth by showing us CEOs who are indistinguishable from predators. The alien organisms are dangerous, but the true villain of this franchise has always been human greed. Weyland-Yutani, Burke, Cavalier, these corporations that attempt to turn terror into a product. In the end, Alien Earth shows us that the system rewards parasitism, and that the real monsters aren't the aliens at all. They're human.
Future prediction number 6. Psychopathy will rule the galaxy.
I was about to end this episode, but then I woke up having an epiphany. What if we took this whole concept one step further? Were not the engineers from Prometheus also psychopaths? These 10-foot tall albino gods who created humanity, even left us maps to come find them centuries later, but then they decide that we needed to be wiped out with a bioweapon? Why? Fucking psychopaths. So maybe the entire Alien franchise is really about one thing: psychopaths. Think about it. We create AI robots in our own image who end up sabotaging us, psychopaths. We bring back alien organisms just to weaponize them, psychopaths. We exploit our own people so that the 0.1% can hoard all of the wealth, psychopaths. We destroy our own planet for profit, psychopaths. And if our ancient alien gods made us just to kill us, psychopaths. We are psychopaths born from psychopaths doing psychopathic shit. That's the thread. It's not just corporations. It's not just CEOs. It's not just AI. It's psychopathy all the way up and down the chain. And that's what the Alien story has really been telling us for the last 45 years. That's the true horror. And the bleakest suggestion of all: we're not fighting the alien. We're fighting our own reflection. A psychopathy written into our DNA. And funny enough, by realizing that, Prometheus kind of makes more sense now, doesn't it? What makes science fiction great is that it becomes a reflection of some aspect of ourselves that we don't yet realize. If this unrecognized aspect goes on unnoticed, then it ends up becoming a prophecy about us. The prophecy of the Alien series is clear. If we continue to reward sociopathy and punish empathy, the future belongs to parasites, both human and alien. But there is hope in our growing awareness of these things. Great science fiction isn't just about entertainment, it's about foresight. It shows us the danger if we fail and the possibilities if we act. And if we can recognize the parallels in our own world, we can resist the systems that will end up breeding monsters. So I have sort of a big announcement to make. I wrote my own science fiction story. It's called The New World Project, and it's my very first novel, and I'm very excited about it, and I'm excited to tell you guys all about it as we move along. I had this idea in a dream. I literally had this idea in a dream in March of 2024, and I suddenly just got struck by lightning, and I realized I just have to write this. And so I dropped everything I was doing, and here we are, a year and a half later or more, and I've got a book in my hand, and I'm telling you about it. And I didn't expect that to happen, but here we are. So I hope that you will like, subscribe, and follow this channel, and listen in these little after credit snippets or whatever we're going to call this, and I'll tell you more about the book briefly. I'll give you the whole plot and the whole spiel and tell you all about it, and hope to sell it on this channel eventually, and I hope to see you in our sci-fi future here on this channel.